All righty, everybody. It is time to check in as we come back to you as the Windy City Podcast with some familiar faces, of course. If you've ever seen some people on NBC Sports, and of course, this gentleman over here was at CHSN this last year. Of course, we got to get into this Bears game on the lakefront. The Bears defeated the Saints 26 to 14.
Bro,
They were
introduce yourself. Introduce
we're getting
yourself.
we're getting there.
Oh,
We're
you are?
getting there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yes.
fucked you up. I fucked you up. Listen, it's been a year. That's on me.
It's not
I
a
have to
problem.
trust. I have to trust.
It's not a problem. And since he wants the introductions, that of course is Alex Shapiro right over there. My guy, our intrepid reporter, and I am Kenneth Davis. Both of us were formerly of Under Center. We're two-thirds of Under Center. Shout out forever to my guy and our guy Josh Schrock. So we're going to be bringing you Bears football here. So make sure you check us out. Make sure you follow. If you have any questions, leave them, of course, in the chat. We will get back to you as soon as possible. No disrespect taken. No disrespect will be thrown. But of course, getting back to the game, the Bears beat the Saints 26 to 14. First half, they were drumming the Saints. The Saints didn't score a touchdown to the very end of the first half. The Bears defense in the first half, but throughout the game was hot today. The Bears had 4 sacks, 3 interceptions. And Caleb Williams didn't really have his best game. 15 of 26 for 172 yards and 1 interception, a QB rating of 61. And we're going to break everything down. But Alex, we'll start off with you. Your thoughts today on the Bears and also your thoughts on us reuniting to talk some Bears football.
Yeah, I was gonna say, first things first, man. It is so good to be back with you, Kenneth Davis. It just feels natural, man. Even though I had the false start where I didn't trust the introduction. It feels so great to be back with you, as you said, like you, myself, Josh Schrock. I'll throw in Adam Hogue. I'll throw in Eric Strobel. We had some great times on that Under Center podcast. It feels like
Claire
a
and Tony.
privilege.
Claire and
Oh,
Tony.
Claire running the show, Tony
Claire run
running
the
the
show.
show.
Yeah,
How could
Claire
I
and
forget?
Tony.
Again,
Yeah.
I'm messing up again. I'm out of practice. I'm out of practice. But yeah, with Claire and Tony running the show, we had some great time. So it feels like a privilege to be able to talk Bears football with you again. So thank you to Fansided for the opportunity to get this going under the Windy City podcast. But it feels great. And it feels great that we get to talk about a Bears win for our first episode because, obviously we are talking about this objectively and we're not letting our biases leak through with our coverage of the team. But it's simply more fun to cover a win than it is to cover a loss. It's more fun to cover a good team than it is to cover a bad team.
Yep.
So good stuff from the Chicago Bears here in week 7 for their 6th win of the season. They're 4-2 again. It's like I got deja vu from last year, even though it feels a whole lot different from last year.
Feels a lot different, feels a lot more significant. And also on top of it feeling more significant, the fact that the offense has sputtered through the air, but you've seen them. And one thing with Ben Johnson that you thought and you hoped coming from Detroit was the run game was going to be one of the things that he inserted and pushed forward. And you've really seen that. All the comments about DeAndre Swift. And listen, everyone can be better, but still, he's really put this team on his shoulders. Kyle Monunga, the rookie, really had his best game this game. Both of those guys were running over 6 yards per carry today. Both had TDs. Both had long runs over 23 yards. They carried the game today because Caleb had a bad game. Drew Dahlman had a bad game with the exchange, with the holding on to the ball, exchanging the ball to himself
Yeah, what was
a couple of
that?
times. Yeah, like that. That'll be interesting when to see the comments and what necessarily happened with Drew. But again, the run game came through. There was definitely some timely catches. Of course you got our guy Rome out there, but everything could have been better. The defense, I think the thing to me that stood out the most, and switching as we start off with the defense, because it's our first show, we don't want to start off on something negative, right? So we'll get to Caleb and what we hope Caleb will do, but also stick with what Caleb has done, the good and the bad so far. But one of the questions was Dennis Allen and this defense.
Mhm.
The pressure had to be dialed up. You hope you don't have to scheme for pressure as much.
Mhm.
But and I was saying this with friend of the show Jay Hood on his show this week. that you wanted to see Montez Sweat, sorry, play with his hair on fire, and you
Yeah.
you got that. There were times where he may have not sacked the quarterback, but the amount of pressures that he provided, you can see Dennis Allen's fingerprints all over this team. Even when they weren't getting pressure, they're still getting turnovers, which is that saved the Bears. If you really look at it, if the Bears didn't have as many attempts through turnovers throughout this season, their record probably wouldn't be as friendly as what it is right now.
Yeah.
The DBs, it's funny, they had an up and down game. There were times where Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave just was open as all get out. And then there were times where they were just jumping on anything and everything that Rattler put up in the air. But overall, the defense played well. And that's, of course, with your number one quarterback in Jalen Johnson being out. And you've seen, even though Tyreek got burnt today, he still had a couple of good plays that really stood out. He had that one play where the receiver was about to extend and get the first down, and he comes in crashing in from out of frame and knocking the receiver back. You have Wright, the young cornerback, still proving being a guy that we looked at as being the third corner on this team, playing well. He did accidentally knock the second interception from Byard out of his
Yeah.
hands, but happy that he wasn't hurt. And also, one thing that you and I haven't talked about, funny, so I want to get you, I'm going to kick it to you on this. We talked last year about Byard probably being longer in the tooth,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you see that I feel like now we're getting everything of the player that he was in Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Like you see why this guy has been a ball hawk. You like that's the thing. And also, of course, I'll give Ryan Poles this. His first two draft picks really had good games. When you see Jaquan Brisker hitting those holes and stopping those running backs, but also the amount of pressure that they've been providing with the
Yeah.
cornerback and the safety splits today. The second half, they picked it up well. I'll give the Saints props on that. Second half, they picked up those blitzes well, but the
Mhm.
first half, those guys were giving them a lot. But your thought on the defense, Kevin Byard, any other place you want to take it, Alex?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the defense has been the story of the season so far. They were behind Jacksonville today. I don't believe Jacksonville had as many, if not any, takeaways this morning
No,
in
they
London.
had to, I'm sorry, go ahead. You're right.
Yeah,
They
how
didn't
many?
have
They
any.
did not.
They didn't have any.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes the Bears the takeaway kings of the NFL for
Yep.
now. As we're recording this right now, somebody could have the 18
Right.
interceptions on Sunday Night Football. And then, of course, that makes me wrong. But right now, the Bears are the takeaway kings of the NFL. And that's kind of been their calling card, right? That was something that Flus obviously wanted. And that is something that Dennis Allen obviously certainly wants as well. It's what every defensive coordinator wants. Everybody wants to
Right.
take the ball away. But this is something that they've preached for a long time. And it's something that does not feel fluky right now. It feels like they are manufacturing these bad boys, right? So you talked about Montez Sweat and him needing to really put his fingerprints on a game. And I think he has done that over the past 2 weeks. Uh, he's been beating chips. He's been getting home. He has been creating havoc, back to back forced fumbles. Obviously, that is huge. The one series in the first half where he has the big stuff on third down, and again, big stuff on fourth down. Like those are moments that aren't as flashy as a sack in the stat sheet, but those two tackles are really big tackles.
Mhm.
Um, and then you talked about the DB blitzes with Kyler Gordon, with Jaquan Brisker. We knew Dennis Allen was going to be a more aggressive guy, but I think what's been really interesting, and we saw it a little bit in this game where it confused Spencer Rattler a little bit. I think Dennis Allen has done a great job of simulating pressure and being inconsistent with that simulator pressure. We see him bringing guys to the line all the time as if an all-out blitz is coming. He does a lot of double mug looks with like both linebackers right in that A gap, right? And then sometimes everybody's coming. Sometimes a few guys are coming. Sometimes guys are dropping back. And then we've seen stuff more recently where those blitzers will come, but then linemen are dropping back into coverage. We've seen that with Dio Dangbo. Today we saw with Jervon Dexter. Jervon Dexter nearly had an interception, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's not known for his hands. He's a defensive tackle, but like he was right there. So that scheme, that aggressiveness, that confusing look of are they coming? Where are they coming from? I think Dennis Allen, especially recently, has shown a really good knack for pushing those buttons in the right moment. I mean, he nearly had it perfectly with those three DB sacks in a row, right? It was Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, and the Saints get bailed out by honestly a soft pass, roughing the passer call because he hits the ball, he hits the hand, and then on the way through, after he's hit the ball
It
and the
was a
hand, he
follow
hits him in the
through.
head. He
It was
gets
a
him on the
follow
follow
through.
through. It's like the NBA out there. They're
I was
calling
just about to
follow through
say
fouls.
he had to pull that hand back. He just went straight through with got to pull it back, Jaquan.
Apparently, the NFL is turning into the NBA, but that's a moment where Dennis Allen has his fingerprints on that series,
Mm,
and then Kevin Byard, dude, just turning back the clock.
right.
4 interceptions already. Could have had 5. This is the sixth, pretty sure the sixth time in his career that he's had 4 interceptions or more. I tweeted it out earlier. Let me fact check myself. But this is the ball hawking that the Bears were looking for when they needed to replace, the sixth time in his career that he has 4 or more interceptions, and like they're not even halfway through the season. That's crazy.
Right.
Like
I mean,
this
they're
is a
just past the first. They're just out of the first quarter of the season.
right. So this is a 2-time All Pro, a 2-time
Hmm.
Pro Bowler, and looks well on his way to adding more accolades to that accolade case. Um, it's been huge, and what it's done is it's allowed the Bears to figure things out on offense, to develop an identity on offense, correct things on offense in wins. It's giving Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson more opportunities to succeed. When they're struggling to punch the ball in, when they're struggling to string first downs together or be explosive, I mean, it's not only keeping them in games because they're keeping points off the board, but you're just giving Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams more opportunities. And we have seen the offense take advantage to a degree, right? Have they put up huge touchdown numbers off of those interceptions, off of those fumble recoveries? No, but the offense is getting better before our very eyes. And it's like obviously the defense has played a huge role in that. And then one more thing that I'll say, because the defense is also improving as we go. Earlier in the year, the Bears' run defense was atrocious. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's where I
mean,
was going.
yeah, like they were giving up over 6 yards a carry at some point today, and after the bye to a degree, but today certainly against Alvin Kamara, who is still a good running back, and I know that the Saints are not a good football team.
Hmm.
They got it done, and that's what you're supposed to do against bad football teams. You're supposed to get it done, and they really did a good job stopping that run. So other than like 2 drives in the middle of that game, in those middle 8 minutes there, I guess middle 5 minutes really, the Saints' last drive of the first half and the first drive of the second half, the D was lights out. So hats off to them.
They had a couple of times in the second half where, again, you saw Juwan Johnson find soft coverages and holes. There was that one time in the flat, it made no sense for him to be that open. But still, when you were talking, some of the things that stuck out to me, and I want to talk about the run defense. It's particularly being the Chicago Bears, and if anybody has seen me recently, I've been harping on that a lot because I'll go to it now. One thing I think sometimes we take for granted how well the Bears, even a bad Bears defense, how stout they usually are versus the run. And as you said, I'll say last game coming out the bye, anytime that you want to have a really good coaching staff, particularly a young coaching staff, we don't know here in Chicago how Dennis Allen operates coming out of a bye week, right? You have a brand new head coach who's never been a head coach before. He's been offensive coordinator, an excellent offensive coordinator, but to find out some of the changes, and particularly when you're talking about run O and run D. Run defensively. Even though the Bears haven't been getting pressure, they've been getting more pressure this game. You can still hit the gap, stick to the scheme, and be where you need to be to stifle the run. But when you look on the flip side of run O, and one of the reasons that we were huge proponents of Ben Johnson coming here was, and I always say this, it's always sexy as an offensive coordinator to be a guy that wins through the air. Ben Johnson has always been a ardent run power guy. Definitely, you want to have a speed guy, as we've seen with Jahmyr Gibbs. But we know here, as far as Monty, and of course, I'm talking about David Montgomery, the type of punishment that the Detroit Lions have been giving out the last 3 seasons, and particularly two with Ben Johnson running the O. And that's what really stood out to me. But I want to get back to Brisker and Byard, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot coming into the season, what the Bears that was, and I'm not saying that it's over. I'm not saying that they won't draft a safety, but it was Byard saying he wants to be here to turn it around. I remember joking like, yeah, everybody says stuff like that at the back end of the contract and one another contract, right? And it was could he find the fountain of youth? And at this point early in the season, we have a lot of season that remains to see how he holds up because Father Time is undefeated. But Jaquan Brisker, and I hope with the Bears, not with the Bears, that one, he's healthy. I mean, when we think about prior to this season and the thoughts about him talking about he had to relearn things due to some of the injuries that he sustained because he plays with such reckless abandonment and the way that he's jumped right back on the bike. He's playing better than he was when he left. There were a lot more. There were at least a game or two or a play or two where he would have brain cramps earlier in his career because he really didn't play last season. To see how well the safeties have played and that kind of not being one of the needs for the Bears right now moving forward, particularly again with Jalen Johnson been out, particularly when they haven't been getting a ton of pressure, has been one of the sweet spots of the season so far. Going along to listen, these guys are the heartbeat, and starting off, of course, always with TJ Edwards. But listen, Tremaine Edmonds is going to get you. You know what I'm saying? Like he like Tremaine Edmonds is a heat-seeking rocket. He may not explode, but he's going to get you from behind and bring you down. What they're doing on the defensive side is giving you a reason to think that it's sustainable moving forward. Again, have to see if run-wise they continue. And another part, you look at the fact that they got Kyler Gordon back, one of the better nickel cornerbacks in the league, right? And you can see the last 2 games how that's helped them improve getting Kyler Gordon back. When you think about, and hopefully speaking about long in the tooth, Grady Jarrett, whenever he's healthy, can provide that to you. And Austin Booker seeming like he's coming around and getting ready to be able to play. And you're needing someone to perhaps go along with what we hope Montez Sweat continues to do. Then you're really cooking with grease. And as you said just a second ago, the defense has allowed this offense more and more opportunities to stay and to take over the game. So again, defensively, a really good game. Offensively, questions because they did play the Saints, and the Saints are a bad team. Like, let's be honest, you have to beat the teams that are on your schedule. That's the truth of the matter. You have to beat the teams on your schedule. I'm happy because this game looked like it was going to be a lot closer. Because at first it looked like, because it was like, well, are they going to really have a goose egg and not allow them to score? You didn't think they was going to have a goose egg for the entire game. Maybe they have a fourth quarter comeback. The Bears in pre, I mean not a comeback, a score. The Bears being in prevent and they get one or whatever. But still, I didn't think because I think 2 days ago, Friday, I know the line was 4.5, and I thought, nah, the Bears should have more than that, right? This team, the Bears are ascending, and the question will be the layups in Caleb, and when will we see easy layups that can help extend these plays? Because even as bad at times as it seems, Caleb hasn't played terribly, but it's still freshman mistakes that it hits me. Also, I'll give some of it, but more Caleb than Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson hasn't made as many layups, but I don't know if that's partially. I have to look at the all 22. If that's more on Caleb not seeing the open guy, but Caleb holding on to the ball is frustrating. And I hope it's one of those things where this is what he is as a young player and not who he is for the majority of his career so far. But your thoughts on, of course, Caleb Williams and the offense and anything else you want to add to defense for the defense, Alex?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, right? Like Caleb is still making some of those mistakes. What's interesting is he has put more balls in danger, like inexplicable danger throughout this year than I think he did last year and even that he did in college. Now, it's funny you say freshman mistakes. He's still only made less than 25 starts. He has not made 25 starts yet. So like he is still a work in progress. And we saw some of those today, right? I mean, we saw some balls. He did get intercepted once. It looks like he could have been intercepted a couple more times. To a degree, all quarterbacks get away with some throws that were bad throws, right? That's part of the game. But it seems like there are some throws where it's like, dude, if you're going to throw that away, you got to throw it away, throw it away. Or there's no reason for you to challenge here when you can live to die another day.
Hmm.
That said, he has made some really good decisions. There have been moments where instead of running out of bounds, he slides behind the line of scrimmage. That is going to technically go as a sack, but that sack keeps the clock running. And, that situational awareness is really good. Uh, Today, using Sunday's game against the Saints as a microcosm, did he light it up? No. Was he out of sync at times? Yes. But he also was in sync for a good amount. We saw several throws with good anticipation, balls out as guys are coming right out of their breaks, and bang, 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 everything is timed up perfectly exactly how the Bears want it. We saw some of those chunk throws, some of those big plays, especially in the middle of the field, that the Bears had been lacking earlier on in this year, right? And again, when we talked about Justin Fields, for instance, right? This is going to be the key, right? Fields, we saw the flashes, and we were always asking about the consistency. For years and years and years, though, that consistency never came. Caleb Williams, there have been ups and downs. He still has not made 25 starts yet. He still needs to be consistent. So it's interesting. It's kind of the similar conversations that we're having about that inconsistency. Can you stack more plays? However,
Uh-huh.
I think in a few short starts, because I see you just squirming in your seat. If you're listening and you're not watching on YouTube, Kenneth Davis is squirming as I'm comparing Caleb Williams to Justin Fields.
I want to know
I
what do you think I'm about to say? Please continue to tell me what do you think where I'm about to go with it
I
after
think you're
you're
about
done.
to defend Caleb Williams
Okay.
as it
Okay.
relates to Justin Fields, and I will also defend Caleb Williams as it relates to Justin Fields. If you've written some of my work on Bear Goggles On, you'll know that I've seen throws that Caleb Williams has made that Justin Fields never made. Or I never saw him make these throws as a Chicago Bear, layering balls in over linebackers in front of safeties. The anticipation stuff, Justin Fields would do that every once in a while, but he was late with a lot of throws throughout his Bears career. Uh, Justin Fields has now, as of today, been benched for Tyrod Taylor. So we'll
That's what
see
I
if
hate.
Justin
I
Fields
hate
will.
that. I hate us
Yeah,
mentioning Justin because of that.
I
Like
know it's
that's
tough.
where,
I know if it feels
yeah,
like I'm punching down. I don't mean to
right.
punch down given the circumstances today. I'm
That's
trying to
yeah,
compare the last two quarterbacks. I'm not trying to
yeah.
punch down. But as it relates to these guys, the inconsistency and Caleb Williams, building the building blocks. I have seen him play more on time than I saw Justin Fields play on time. Caleb Williams still has a ways to go. Like he's still got a lot of improving to do. But just like heading into this year, it was a big question. Hey, how is Caleb Williams going to do under center? I was part of that. I was curious, right? This is a guy who played out of the shotgun primarily in college, who the Bears created a shotgun offense out of him primarily last year. This year, Ben Johnson's like, to run my offense, we need to run the ball well under center and then use play action off of that running game under
Played
center.
a lot of the shotgun today though.
A little bit more, a little bit more. You're right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Caleb Williams had no problem running the offense under center. So like that was something that we saw. We had questions. We saw it. He did it. We've seen him make those anticipation throws. And again, when the Bears needed a play to be made, 4th and 2, go win the game, hits Colson Loveland, no problem. Got to have this first down. Okay, here's DJ Moore on a little out route, balls out perfectly. We've seen a lot of good. So yeah, was it not the prettiest game that Caleb Williams has ever had today? No, but he knew what he had to do. DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai are having a day. Make the throws when you need to. Control the game. He made enough plays. And the Bears win. And I think that's I think the Bears can feel like they can win a lot of games with Caleb Williams playing quarterback, even when it's a day like today and he doesn't look great. We can still go out there and win a game.
All right. So initially, and as Alex said, if you didn't see me, I had I won't say squirmed, but I motioned that I had something to say when he was talking about Justin and of course Caleb's play. One, I don't like taking shots at Justin Fields. I know, and it's because one, as Alex said, Justin got benched today for the Jets in the game against Carolina. Um he had at the last 3 weeks had a bad game, had two bad games. Even though it really hasn't turned the ball over a lot, but that's not the focus. Focus is Caleb. Um, I don't have the same questions. My only question with Caleb, and it crossed my mind today, Alex. So if you hear this moving forward, remember I said it first. I had the fear that set in with me is Caleb close to a finished product? Was is Caleb like the 2025 Jake Plummer? Right? And what I mean by that is a talented quarterback who can really win a game and can do some crazy things. And I mean that in a positive way off script, but also a guy that can really throw you into some bad situations also. Now, Caleb hasn't done that. Caleb hasn't been turnover prone since he's been in the league. One of the things that Caleb has an innate ability is to risk turning over the ball, but the opposing team does not take the ball away. I don't know what, just like him getting sacked, Caleb has this. I guess I have to give him props. Strength in his lower half, where there are times where defenders have him both hands on him, on his thighs or whatever, or shoulders, and for some reason he can run out of it. I feel like perhaps he has silicone all sprayed all over his uniform, which I don't care if he can get away with it. Go ahead, but he has this, and what makes you angry is that Caleb has to realize. I do like the fact that Caleb wants it to be on him. I like the fact that he's willing to risk it, but there's too many other plays down the road that there's no reason for you to risk it. You know, like that throw that he did to Rome when he got out, broke away, and it was almost an interception, and it looked like he was throwing the ball away. Caleb has to come to grips with just throw the ball away. Just throw it away. Don't try to extend the play every time. And after you initially extend the play, especially if you're out of the tackle box, get rid of the ball. Or even as you said, if it's not going to be a sack that takes you back 5 or more yards, if you're only losing a few yards, take the sack if you do want time to tick off the clock. That just needs to be done. There are times I did like at the end of the game where, and I love this about Ben Johnson. Most coaches with a win in hand, basically, and after getting the ball back from the Saints, would have just sat there and either kicked the field goal or just run the ball, right? And for them to throw the ball to Colston Loveland, and because you ended on a positive note for your quarterback, you gave him something positive to take into the next game. Um, I'm not saying this is a positive. I'm not saying this is a negative on Ben Johnson. You want to simplify the game for your quarterback. So I do love the fact that there were times where he cut the field in half. Like a lot of the positive plays were, boots where the field is basically in half and you don't have to worry about primarily unless you're throwing across your body and across the field, what's happening on the opposite side of the field.
Mhm.
That's what you want to see. I do like the time like when Rome got free and it reminds you of what took place when Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator for Detroit, where you're scheming guys open, particularly with this young quarterback. So there are positives. I don't think I'm not at a point where I worry, and I do think this is something you alluded to. I take Caleb's throwing ability for granted. I have to remind myself sometimes that because it's just like, yeah, okay, he can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I take it for granted because it's like it's what I expected. I was a huge proponent of the Bears drafting Caleb. For anybody that doesn't know this, from when Alex and I were part of Under Center, Alex actually was the first person to mention Caleb on the show. Alex went to USC.
The USC connection. I was watching a lot of USC football, so that helped. That early on in that 2022 season, I was like, I think this guy's kind of good. I think
Yeah,
this you. I know him. I know I'm the USC guy here, but I think this Caleb Williams guy is
he was
pretty
the
good.
first person to mention him. And then, of course, we had the Civil War. Man, that was bad. It's a lot of people. I don't even want to go there and ask where those people are at right now. But where are you? But I mean, I still will get people will still tweet me about it All right, till this off season, basically, where it's just like I told you. And again, I'm someone who always wants to see Justin Fields succeed, so I take no joy in him being benched. And that's honestly like, for me, optimum would be both of these guys playing well and having successful careers or whatever. But again, this is about the Bears and focusing back on Caleb. Um, if you still have to say that the offense, Theo Bennett on the offense had some issues, but
Yes.
you got to take Bennett, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Someone who didn't get, I know he did split a lot of reps in the offseason, but still he wasn't the starter. He wasn't planned all the way to be the starter. They still gave Braxton Jones, even though they told Braxton Jones your job is in the air, they still gave him starters reps, particularly when the season started. So I don't want to knock on that. I will say this. Um, Jonah Jackson played a lot better this game.
Hmm.
He had been a question mark to a degree. Dahlman has some issues, but I hope it's just more him getting used to this offense. But a guy that I want to talk about is definitely Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright, these last couple of games is showing out, to be honest with you. Now I need to watch the all 22, but the right side and the holes that they're not just the holes also, but even um, containing the defensive line and stopping them from setting the edge to allow DeAndre Swift to get to the outside. That's one of those things that really sticks out, and you're happy. So the reason I just went on that gambit of the offensive lineman is Caleb is primarily the only offensive player not at a real high level yet, because I'm giving Theo Bennett a grain of salt. And I think it'll improve. But I also say this, and I was saying this on the show this week. I just expect it to kind of be a roller coaster until later on in the season. I think one, when you're talking about, and I know that this offensive playbook has been schemed down or parsed down somewhat, but you're still talking about it's a complex system and it's new. And you have a lot. This isn't a situation where you're bringing in a new offensive scheme and the line has been together. Let's
Right.
even say that it's been together where you have three of the same linemen and you were only changing out two. The only guy that was playing last year was Darnell Wright.
Yeah.
All right. You know, Theo wasn't out there playing, and the other three guys are guys that they brought in this offseason. So coming from different systems. So even though Jonah Jackson has some familiarity with this system being a former Detroit Lion before going to the Los Angeles Rams, everyone's learning. So I was thinking about that with looking at my text with Drew Dahlman was playing today, and just thinking about how much stuff is running through his head that he perhaps isn't able to really focus on the task at hand. And that's where the situation where he didn't release the ball in the exchange. And I don't know if I can blame him or Caleb, because I think in the shotgun situation where Caleb bobbled the ball, because it was off center, but still, sometimes your center is not going to give you the best shotgun pass. I mean, shotgun exchange. It's not going to happen like that, and that falls on you to see the ball and to make the needed adjustments. But overall, I'm not mad at the offense. I'm not. I'm definitely not mad at Caleb. But Caleb can wait to be Superman. Like that part. Just you're going to be Superman, but it's okay to be Clark using your powers undercover. You know, where you tip the glasses down and you use the heat vision real quick, or you use the super breath and you knock something over. It's okay to still use your abilities, but you don't have to play like Darkseid is coming to the planet to take over everything every game like you did. Because if this is my last point before you jump in. The one of the things the Bears got away with, and we talked about this at the Open, was the fact they were playing a bad team. Because if this was a good team, they would have been in some trouble with the lack of passing through the air and some of the brain cramps that they had. They would have been in, particularly where you saw the back end, even though they got interceptions, open up. A better offense would have been able to take more advantage of those types of situations. Again, you have to play with who's on the schedule, and I'm not trying to diss the facts that they beat the Saints. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, and you're happy as they're moving along at 4-2, because I think, and you said this, this is a much more legit 4-2. One, they have better players than they did last season. You didn't, and some of these players aren't playing. You didn't have Jaquan Brisker really last year. You had Byard coming over to this team. You had Kyler Gordon, but Kyler was in and out. You didn't have, and we haven't seen Grady Jarrett. Your Austin, and these are players that aren't playing, and I hope can help. Austin Booker was a rookie. I think Javon Dexter may be better. I do like Odangbo, but I haven't seen. I like the beginning of the season. Me and you haven't talked about this since this is the first time we've done the show. I like some of the stuff I saw at the beginning of the year. He had a couple of mistakes, but they were active mistakes where it was a guy playing to the echo. But a lot of times, I like the pressure that he was getting. I don't know also in this system exactly what Dennis Allen is asking for him when you go back and look at what they tried to do with the defensive ends and with the Saints, because the Saints had a different system with what they did with Cam Jordan and Granderson or whatever. But again, I'm happy that the Bears had this win today. I'm happy they were able to pull it off with the passing game kind of being cramped up. And I look forward to see what they end up doing next week as the Bears moving forward.
Yeah. With the offensive line, you know, hats off to whatever happened in that bye week. I know reporters at Hallis Hall kind of asked about it, and they were like, yeah, we made improvements. We made tweaks. We're always getting better. But something I think clearly happened, because what I saw over the first 4 games of the season, it's kind of interesting. Like DeAndre Swift last year got a lot of criticism for doing a lot of dancing behind the line. If a
Mm-hmm.
hole was there, he wasn't ready to hit it. This year, I saw the opposite, where DeAndre Swift in that run game was still struggling. But I saw a guy hitting creases, doing his best he could, but really had not a lot of room to go. I want to say through the first 4 games of the year or something, he was getting contacted like
Yeah.
1 yard past the line of scrimmage, which is very close to the line of scrimmage. Some of the top backs with the best rushing numbers, they get contacted first, like closer to like 1.7 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. So big difference, right? It may not seem like a big difference, but it is a big difference. Uh, and the past 2 games, it's all come together. The middle of that line, and yes, I'll throw Theo Benedict and Darnell Wright in there, have really created lanes. It starts in the middle, but the guys on the outsides have helped. They have created great lanes. They've done an excellent job of sealing something off, and then getting to the second level to pick up a linebacker, right? And just like, here's a big hole, DeAndre Swift. And to his credit, he has taken full advantage of those holes. It has been exactly what we spoke about in the past. Again, if you listen to the Under Center podcast in the day, Kenneth Davis loves a running back who hits a hole, sticks his leg in the dirt, makes one cut, and he's gone. We've seen a lot of that with DeAndre Swift. He's done a much better job, in my opinion, of getting north-south, of making that one cut, of really taking advantage of space. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really all come together, and it really, really came together in this game in a very effective way, where when I look at that, when I say, okay, Drew Dahlman is getting up to the second level, Jonah Jackson is getting up to the second level, Joe Tooney is doing Joe Tooney things, when the 3 of those guys are cooking in that run game and DeAndre Swift is 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 just doing his thing, that to me is like, okay, are the Bears finding an identity here? We knew that Ben Johnson loved to run the football. He had an incredibly balanced attack, and that featured great rushing with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and for a time, DeAndre Swift as well. But now it's like, okay, is this the identity of the Bears offense forming? And DeAndre Swift, there were a lot of questions about his fit on this team. I will raise
Yep.
my hand. I was one of those people who was curious if this was going to be DeAndre Swift's last year with the team. Play out the string, and then Ben Johnson goes to get his guy. Just like, hey, Ben Johnson drafted Jahmyr. Well, he didn't. He's not the GM, but pretty sure Ben Johnson had a hand in saying, yes, we can go get Jahmyr Gibbs
And we
and
had
trade
something to say.
away
And
DeAndre
we
Swift. Yeah,
right. We
exactly.
had something to say, like, what? They did what? That
Right.
draft?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Pretty good move. Pretty good move for the Detroit Lions.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I had my questions and concerns, but now it's looking like DeAndre Swift has internalized that feedback, has really looked in the mirror and been like, okay, yeah, I do need to get north south. I do need to dance less and just hit that hole. And boy, does it look good. I mean, boy, howdy, it looks really, really good. And It was phenomenal. I do have to respond to the Jake Plummer thing too. Well, I'm thinking of
Okay,
it. I had to fit in Jake Plummer
just wait. Just
because
hold
he.
on.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
hold
yeah,
on. I want to say jump on something you said. With one, I'm with you. I don't think because this is the end. This will be the end of DeAndre Swift's contract. I don't think he's leaving. There still could be a chance, but I think he's played himself. He's played well enough that regardless of what the Bears may do in the offseason when it comes to the running back room, we know that the Bears wanted to get a running back this offseason in the draft, but they couldn't get the running back that they wanted, and they chose Cal Monunga. And this is twofold. But DeAndre Swift has made himself valid and available for them enough to the point there's no reason where even if you're thinking I can get another guy that you don't need that guy because he knows what you're asking for him to do. And then a lot of people poo-pooed Kyle Monunga, who I watched a lot at Rutgers because of James Naveau. Shout out to our guy James Naveau. Um, and watched Kyle Monunga carry Rutgers, having his best program with 13 carries for 81 rushing yards. And also a couple of nice catches too that got the Bears first downs, and how they were able to just batter. And not just sometimes when you say batter, it means that they didn't get a lot of gashes. No, I mean gashes and batter the Saints defense. So
Mhm.
I want to definitely give props to them with that. But I'll say this too in the past, and we'll have to see. Usually when the Bears have what's deemed as a weakness, like how people felt about the running game last year, people one when they brought in DeAndre Swift, people was upset because they didn't get Saquon Barkley. One, Saquon Barkley was not coming here because the Bears did not have championship aspirations. Like that's he knew he can get paid more and go to the Eagles and win. And guess what he did? He got paid more, went to the state where he played football, it was for Penn State, and won a title and got
You
more
got the ring.
national. Yeah, he got the ring. So he wasn't coming. And DeAndre Swift was the guy that I thought would fit them. And it took a minute, even though a lot of people were blaming him when it really wasn't just his fault last year. But the reason I'm talking about that, usually when there's a player that they either want to draft because they have a deficiency, that deficiency lingers throughout the season. And that hasn't been the problem right now when we're talking about the last couple of games with the running game. And even in the past, when I mean the past earlier games, it wasn't as much as DeAndre, as much as the offensive line wasn't creating holes for him to be able to get to the second level. So I wanted to just say that before you jumped into the Jake Plummer comparison. Oh, no, hopefully not a comparison with the future of Caleb Williams' career.
Well, it piqued my interest when you said that, and I was like, okay, interesting,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. But here's where I think it's a little different because Jake Plummer did a lot of winning and had some clutch moments, led a lot of
I didn't say it was bad,
fourth quarter
Alex. I didn't
drives.
say.
Here's the
Yeah.
difference. Jake
Mm-hmm.
Plummer threw a lot of
That's what I
interceptions.
said that though.
A lot.
I said he doesn't turn the ball over
Okay,
like
good.
Jake. I said because that's one thing I said he does not. But that's why I said he puts the ball in precarious situations though. They just don't
He
get
does.
it, right?
But
Like he,
yeah.
yeah. But I'm
Yeah,
with you.
I hear you.
He has it, and I don't think he will become a turnover machine. I meant more in the oh my goodness, whoa, it's like that type of
Yeah,
aspect of can escape, has a nice arm. I think his arm is better
yeah,
than Jake Plummer's. High football. Jake Plummer's a pretty smart guy. High football IQ. And also a different type of guy too. Jake Plummer's a different type of guy too. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of more. But I was trying to say it, and by no means I'm not dissing Jake Plummer because Jake Plummer had a successful career. But I was trying to say I hope that's not the cap on
sure.
Caleb's ceiling. Is
I
what
hear
I
you.
was trying to
I
say.
hear you.
Where he could be a guy that like coming after like leaving Arizona. A lot of people thought if they got their hands on Jake Plummer, maybe I may be able to. Saying like he still had that type of potential. And I'm saying I want Caleb to be even better than that. I want him to
Sure.
be a sure thing. Is kind of what I was alluding
Sure,
to.
sure, sure,
And
sure.
I hope that's not the ceiling, that he can blast right past that and become one of, if not a top five quarterback, or even just a really good quarterback that can help the Bears get to where they want to go moving forward.
Well, hopefully Caleb Williams' past can assure you a little bit of his future because yes, he has put the ball in harm's way. Like you're absolutely right. But like
Mm-hmm.
that's just not who Caleb Williams has been over the majority of his college career and his early Bears career. This is a guy who really does take good care of the football and has not thrown many interceptions. But who knows? We shall see. Like I says, the dude, like I've said, the dude has only made and has not even made 25 starts. So we We shall see. Ken, do you have anything else to say before we hand out some game
We could
balls here?
have nothing else to say.
Well, you want to give out the first game ball? Because I have a few
Sure.
guys I'm going through my mind, and I'm like, if you make a decision, it might make my decision a little easier.
All right, so I have a few game balls to give out also. My first game ball is going to go to Bears defensive coordinator and former Saints head coach slash defensive coordinator slash defensive assistant, Dennis Allen, who, given the groceries that he has come up with a fantastic recipe to stifle opposing teams' offenses enough for the Bears to come out with victories. And you can now see, like, before he was like using like spam and hash, and no disrespect to any of our Polynesian or Hawaiian listeners or whatever when we're talking about spam, but most of us aren't eager to get our hands on any spam. I know you guys do terrific things out there with it. But I'm just saying, like, he was making great dishes with what some people would think, and it wasn't quality ingredients.
Yeah.
And now getting some of his players back and learning the players and coming up with a different type of acumen to use, you see them playing even better. So my first game ball here on the Winning City Pod goes out to Dennis Allen for getting this defense playing up, because it looked like this was going to be an issue. And if the Bears defense, one thing the Bears, I'll say this too, it seems like they have something where they have a side of the ball that's really good. You can see it with the turnovers, as Alex said, that they surpassed Jacksonville for the time being, or at least while we recorded, they lead the NFL in turnovers or takeaways. So that goes to their defensive coordinator and the players. So shout out to Dennis Allen.
Yeah. Great call. So many defensive players played well. It's hard to single out a single defensive player. I'll give an honorable mention to Tremaine Edmonds, who had the unbelievable interception, led the team in tackles, pass defended, had a sack. Tremaine Edmonds was everywhere, but I think Dennis Allen is a wonderful choice to encapsulate that defensive performance. I'll go with the offense. We just got done talking about him, DeAndre Swift.
Good one.
I mean,
Good
my
one.
goodness, that guy, chunk play, chunk play, chunk play, back to back weeks with 100 rushing yards. Uh, really good in space. And it was a moment where the Bears really needed him. He came through when the Bears needed him
Great
to
point.
steady things, right? Like, okay, Bears get out to this 20-0 lead, feeling good. Offense isn't looking great, but hey, we're doing it. And then bam, touchdown, halftime, bam, another touchdown. All of a sudden, this is a one score game. Caleb Williams was still kind of trying to find a rhythm, and they just turned things over to DeAndre Swift again. I'm pretty sure there was one touchdown drive. It was a short field where it was like DeAndre Swift run, DeAndre Swift run, DeAndre Swift run, Kyle
It's four
Monangai
play.
run.
It was four
The four
plays.
plays. All right,
Yeah, it
Swift,
was four
Swift,
plays.
Monangai, and then Swift touchdown.
Hmm.
And then again, you talk about running backs who kind of get lathered up as the game goes on and start breaking off those bigger runs as the game goes on. Late in the game, when the Bears needed to put it away, he's continuing to get those chunk plays so that the Bears can control the clock, control the game. Uh, he was the dude. Bears had over 200 yards on the ground between Mr. Swift and Kyle Monangai. Shout out Kyle Monangai, scored his first NFL touchdown. Uh,
Hmm.
but got to give the game ball to DeAndre Swift.
All right. Now my next game balls are going out. I want to give an honorable mention to Montez Sweat, for playing well today, playing really being there when they needed him, being the big guy on the defense, who's getting paid the most. But this goes out, and I'm gonna split this between two guys, but it's gonna be an emphasis on one of the guys. This goes out to the Bear safeties. This
Mm,
goes out to Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard. The old man is showing why he's been one of the better takeaway players on the defensive side since he's entered into the NFL. I mean, anytime you're talking about interceptions and you have 30 and you're still playing, that's crazy. All right, like you're if you're not, but you're close to Canton. You know what I'm saying? Like you're talking 30 interceptions, and I know it's a passing league today, but that's something. And you're a guy that will stick your nose out there. But I want to focus on a player that was drafted by Ryan Poles, and that's of course Jaquan Brisker, who had a lot of questions about his health and his availability, and was he going to be able to return or surpass where he was at prior to he started getting nicked up. And still plays the same way. Still is nasty and out there. So for Jaquan Brisker making it back, and it's time to get paid. His draft mate Kyler Gordon got paid, and it's time to go out there and get some break. Saying get paid. Time to get played. It's time to all that half step and if old hip hop references. So shout out to those two guys for stepping up and anchoring the back end of this defense. Who you got next?
All right, I showed my hand a little bit, but I'll give out my second ball to Tremaine Edmonds. This is another guy who drew the ire of a lot of Bears fans, and
Hmm.
had a bit of a down year last year, but has really risen to the occasion as the Bears Mike linebacker. Was even challenged a little bit by the Bears in a sense, and challenged by Dennis Allen in a sense, where they had TJ Edwards playing some Mike over the summer, which is like, they can, sure, we want our linebackers to be interchangeable. If one guy goes
Right,
down, we
but
want the other guy to play the other. But like,
range wise, that was always like okie
okay,
dokie. But please
oh,
continue.
oh, okay, you want TJ Edwards to take some
No,
reps with it? No,
no,
that's what
yeah,
I'm
I'm
saying.
sorry.
That
Okay,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
with you. I'm with you.
yeah,
Where it was like, oh, to me, it was like a bit of a signal that, hey, we're gonna have TJ in the middle for a little bit,
yeah,
and put
yeah.
Edmonds out there on the weak side. But dude has risen to the occasion, has created a lot of takeaways, has been the player that the Bears thought they were getting when they signed him to the big deal. Honestly, the player that he was for portions of his first season with the Bears when he
Second
was,
half,
yeah, he was
second half,
very
yeah.
effective as he came on. He was coming off an injury that first year training camp, I believe.
Hmm.
So he's been huge. Like I said, he led the team in tackles. He had the sack. Uh, and can we just shout out that interception play? Because it was actually honorable mention TJ Edwards and DeMarco Jackson, all three
Yes,
linebackers,
yes,
played
dude,
so well on that interception play.
dude.
Right, fourth down. This is this is like game sealing
Yes,
stuff right here.
yes.
DeMarco Jackson, who's playing Sam in place of the injured Noah Sewell, who's out with a concussion, sniffs out an Alvin Kamara pass to the flat right away and just like, nope, I am taking you out of the picture here.
Just hits him. That's the best part. Just hits him.
Yeah.
Like we're behind the line.
Yeah.
Hey, I got yeah, just go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, exactly. So then Spencer Rattler's like, oh no. uh, throws the ball over the middle of the field. TJ Edwards is there, pops the ball up, and Tremaine
Yep.
Edmonds is there on the other side. All three linebackers had a hand in that great play. And it's, again, this is where stats can tell the story, but they don't tell the whole story. That was all three
That was
LBs
nice.
who made a great play,
Yes.
but it's Tremaine Edmonds who will get the accolades at the end of it. So it's Tremaine Edmonds who's getting the game ball, but he really had a really solid game quarterbacking that Dennis Allen defense.
So since this is the first episode of the Windy City Pot, how many game balls are we going? I mean, it was just
Probably
26 to
just 2.
14.
Yeah,
I
probably
think yeah, I
just
think
2
we
each.
should like this
Maybe.
wasn't one of those some games, some days three we will give out three,
Yeah.
I could, but it's like then we everybody so it's
Yeah,
just a
no.
participation
We'll
trophy
see.
then, basically.
There might be some games where only one guy's getting a game ball.
Yeah,
Maybe nobody's getting a game ball.
Nobody's getting a game ball.
Yeah, exactly.
No soup for you. All right, Alex has something else he wants to break out for us as we enter this new world in this podcast, and that is his extra point segment. Alex, go away. What are you going to lead off with talking about with your extra point? Oh, just so anybody knows, extra point doesn't have to do with anything that we saw today. Not saying it can't be about today, but it can be about anything. I guess in the sports world, is that the parameter, or how far, how
Anything.
wide, anything? Okay, I'm just checking.
So this
Just
is
checking.
we were in the text thread being like, "Hey, we're going to be doing the podcast again together, but it's a new podcast. We might have some new fans. So if you are rejoining us from our previous show, if you are new to Kenneth and myself, we thought this could be a way for you to get to know us a little bit more, for us to share some of our other stuff. As you said, maybe it's an extra idea from today's game, maybe it's an extra idea from sporting world writ large, or maybe it's a great movie or TV show that we watched that we just want to share with the world that we enjoyed. But today, I'm going to share my frustrations with USC football, I'm a USC alumni. I kind of alluded to that earlier. They had an unbelievable opportunity to beat the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in Notre Dame. It's been lean years at USC since the NCAA sent down crazy sanctions on the Trojans. And they could have gotten done, and they kind of blew it. And it's frustrating to watch because Jaden Mayava, the quarterback, I think has played pretty well as the quarterback of USC. But man, he was the one making tons of mistakes. Lincoln Riley, some questionable play calling on 3rd and 1, on 4th and 1. And then Makai Lemon, following up a huge play with a big fumble, where they're trying to do a flea flicker. You want to talk about an opportunity where it's just like, hey, throw it away or get down. Makai Lemon got stuck in the middle, fumbled away an opportunity. And then USC, after taking the lead, what do? Give up a big kick return. Now, you might be saying, whoa, Notre Dame's a good team. They made good plays. I say no. USC beat themselves, and that is really frustrating, right? When when Carr throws an interception to the USC defense, that's USC making a good play. But when USC makes a bad play, that's USC shooting themselves in the foot. Am I being a little meatballish with extra sauce? Yes, that's a little bit of a meatball extra sauce take. But hey, please give me my opportunity to be super meatballish. And I just want to say, USC is so close to being relevant again. They are so close to being relevant again, and yet they just can't get it done. And the USC Trojans are the one team I'm really still a fan of, or I feel like I'm a fan.
Mhm.
I'm frustrated. I'm just frustrated, Ken.
I'm gonna stick with college football. For anybody that doesn't know, I can at times be a fan of Penn State football. I know, Ken, why? Um, but it seems like after James Franklin was dismissed, which he deserved to be dismissed, I'm not by any means caping for him. But then you have Napier coming out today at Florida, and now programs are clearing the deck because they want to make sure they can get their hands on some of the best guys that want to move up to some of these better programs. But a lot of people have Matt Rhule, former linebacker at Penn State, and we know program builder, right? Known for the 3rd year being that guy down at Temple and down at Baylor, I believe, was one of the stops that he had in his life before he went to the NFL and came back in Nebraska. But it's funny on the text thread. Uh, Supposedly the Patrick Mahomes and Dylan Raiola still hasn't taken that step. A loss to Minnesota, who hasn't really been one of the better teams, been middling in the Big Ten the last few seasons, but to get beat 24-6, and people have Matt Rhule being the guy, and he can't win big games, just like James Franklin can't win big games. As someone who likes the white, I like the uniforms that I said like the white, I like the uniforms. State. I worry with them replacing James Franklin with someone who can do Franklin-esque things. So that's and again when Indiana is making sure that Kirk Cignetti isn't going anyplace. But so Kirk Cignetti, you should go
Yeah. That
someplace
contract extension came at a really good time. They're like, hey,
for a
by the
reason.
way, yeah,
Yeah,
let's give you a lot of money right now.
right now. That means this offseason he's definitely not going anywhere. Just means the buyout's going to cost a lot in a year or two. But that's really my big thing is Penn State, be careful what you wish for, and make sure that you really use this opportunity to get someone that can get you into the national championship game consistently and be successful in doing it before SC perhaps take it to another level, before Oregon maybe figures it out. I'm just talking about these teams now that the Big Ten has expanded. There's more teams that knock you out. Before you just have to worry about Michigan and Ohio State. You know what I'm
They've
saying?
already been knocked out. Penn State, it's over. You're
No,
cooked.
no, 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 no. That's not what I mean. I'm not talking about.
I know,
I
I
mean,
know.
so yeah, I'm just saying for in the future where the question is, can you beat these teams? And now you have more of these teams in your conference, is what I'm saying. Make sure you have the coach because it's not going to matter if you're undefeated against the teams that aren't in the top 25 or middling in the top 25. It's not going to matter. So swing for the fences and really get this done and pay through the roof. All right, like this is the time. The checkbook has to be out this time because everyone's coming for everybody. So that is our first extra point, college football style, I guess. But again, it will encompass anything that we feel like talking about. All right, at the end of our podcast. I don't know, Alex. Are we going to come back during the week to do something before or we do it, or do we do pre? Like we used to do 3 a week.
We're not doing
It's
three a
only
week.
post,
I don't
only
think we're doing
post.
3 a week.
I'm just asking because So people
That's a
know
good question.
when to check us
Fans,
out.
respond in the chat. How often do you want to hear the two of us ramble about the Bears? We'll figure it out. This is very new. We're very new to this. We're very excited to be back. We're figuring it out. We're figuring it out.
Figuring it
So
out.
we'll see. We'll see when you see you.
All right. For Alex Shapiro, I am Kenneth Davis here on the Windy City Podcast, here at Bears Focus Podcast. And of course, we're talking NFL. I hope everybody is safe out there. And I hope you look forward to us being back together as we iron out some of the wrinkles. It's been over a year. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
over.
it's been
Last
over a year.
October. Last October was when NBC Sports Chicago. Also, real quick before we go, I don't know how much time we got here.
We got
two
2
couple
minutes and 19 seconds.
Okay. For anybody who doesn't know, Alex recently was at CHN Chicago Sports Network. All right. We both worked at NBC Sports Chicago on the Under Center podcast. You may have seen us in a bar or two somewhere at night.
If you did, it wasn't us.
They replayed it often, early and often. But that's where we know each other from working at the last iteration of the Under Center podcast. Alex alluded to some of the people that were the hosts prior to us, and I always shout out to those guys for building the platform for us to jump onto. So that's where you've perhaps seen us if you don't remember. But this is where you'll see us moving forward here at the Windy City Podcast. That's it. For Alex Shapiro, I'm Kenneth Davis, and we look forward to talking Bears football with you.